Hello, my friends. I wanted to make a video to talk to you a little bit about problem solving. As you know, solving word problems is challenging for kiddos and is a very separate skill set from calculations, right? So one of the things that we see frequently when we're pushing into classrooms is teachers will give kids strategies like, identify the key words and think about, what operation that keyword leads to. And I just want to caution that strategy. I know it's a popular one, but it actually might be doing more harm than good because there's a progression of complexity with word problems that starts in kinder and continues to build through grade 2. And by the end of grade 2, the most complex level of problem solving is to be able to solve word problems where the keywords lead to the wrong operation. So with that in mind, I want to give you a different strategy, okay? So just to highlight what we're talking about here, you see this all over the place. You might even see it on Teachers Pay Teachers. I was actually in a 5th grade classroom and she had an anchor chart up on cubes, if you've heard of it, but it's, circle the numbers, underline the question. And I was circulating around and there was kiddos that were like, am I supposed to box or circle? Like they were more concerned about what they're supposed to box and what they're supposed to circle than actually reading the problem and understanding what it's asking them to do. So instead of doing this type of strategy, I'll share with you on our website, pimaedu.com, under math resources, you'll find under planning and instruction, because this is an instructional routine. At the very bottom, the very last one is read, draw, solve, write. So the first step is to read the problem. And let's not model knowing what to do the first time you read a problem. Let's do 3 reads at least. So the first read is just trying to understand what's happening in the story. So I've seen teachers ask students to close their eyes and make a movie in their mind. You might ask them to chorally read it together and then turn and talk to a partner about what's happening in the story. In your own words, no numbers, just what's the gist, right? The second read is to figure out, what do I know? All right, what information is provided for me? And the third one is, what am I trying to find out? Once you start to think about what do I know and what am I trying to find out, you start asking yourself, what can I draw? What can I label? What can I learn from my drawing? And then from there, from the picture, it'll tell you whether you're supposed to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, what exactly you're needing to do. And that's where you can write your equations, show your work. And then when you get your answer, you put it in a complete sentence. So I'm going to give you an example. Here are 2 problems. You can pause the video and read them. But you might notice that keywords not going to help you in this situation, okay? So let me model it for you. So the first one might be, read it once for the gist. Claire has 12 shells. She has 5 fewer shells than Dan. How many shells do they have altogether? So there's 2 people, Claire and Dan. They've got some shells. One of them's got more, one of them's got less, and they're trying to figure out how much they have altogether, right? So the first read is just for the gist. I'm going to switch to my whiteboard. So we ask ourselves, what can we draw? What can we label? What can we learn for our drawing? So let's take it a sentence at a time. Claire has 12 shells. Well, I don't want to draw 12 dots, so I'm just going to draw a bar, and I'm going to imagine that I've got 12 shells all lined up in there. What can I label? I can label that for a C, and I can label that 12. She has 5 fewer shells than Dan. So Claire has fewer shells than Dan. So Dan must have more shells. So I'm going to draw his bar longer because he's going to have more than 12, right? And I'll label that D for Dan. She has 5 fewer shells. 5 fewer shells. Where does 5 go here? So a couple of ways you can do it. I've seen some people make a dotted line and put the 5 in there. I've seen some people put a bracket, put the 5 there, right? I think either one is fine. I think it's just really important that you don't box this because those shells don't exist, right? It's the comparison quantity. It's not, those aren't shells that she actually has. So now it's asking how many do they have altogether? So they're really asking for this, right? That's my unknown. Well, to figure out what these two are together, I need to figure out this. So this one is going to be 12 plus 5. Because those two should add up to that one. So this unknown is 17. So altogether, it's 17 plus 12 is 29. They have 29 shells altogether, right? I could even put all together. So in the third read, what is the question asking me? One of my teachers had got in the habit of having kids take the question, rephrase it into a statement, and put a blank. So if it says, how many shells do they have altogether? You turn that into a statement. They have blank shells altogether. So they might write a target sentence. And then if it's a two-step problem, they might say, oh, when they go to try to put the 17 in here, they have 17 shells altogether. No, 17 is all that Dan has. I've got one more step to do. And it reminds them to go back and do another step. So this is a comparison word problem, but as you can see, even though it said 5 fewer, subtraction was not what worked here. Even though the altogether was addition, it wasn't 5 and 12, right? You had to get this 17 first. So just an example of keywords not being as helpful as they might be, right? But the drawing makes it easy to see whether I need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. I would just encourage kiddos that if they're going to do comparison, do a left justify, right? Like they have to be lined up so that we can see whose is longer and whose is shorter. Let's do the other one. There are some bananas in a bowl. There's enough fruit for Mike and his 8 friends to each have a piece of fruit. There are 4 apples in the bowl. How many bananas are in the bowl? Okay, so first read is just the gist. I've got apples, I got bananas, I got fruit for everybody. Mike and his friends, everybody gets a piece of fruit. That's the first read. Second read, there are some bananas in a bowl. There's enough fruit for Mike and his 8 friends to each have a piece of fruit. If there are 4 apples in the bowl, how many bananas are in the bowl? So what do I know? I'm going to jot down what I know. I know that there are 4 apples. I know that there's some bananas. I don't know how many. And I know that that's enough to feed Mike and his friends. Okay. So let's say, what can I draw? If I have some bananas, I don't know how many, and I have 4 apples, I know that all together, that can feed 9 people, Mike and his 8 friends. Oops, that should be a 4. So how many bananas are in the bowl? Well, I could say something plus 4 is 9, or 9 minus 4 is something, right? So bananas is 5. And I can put a variable here too, right? Variable start in grade 3. So full sentence, there are 5 bananas. So this is a classic part whole, right? I'm not comparing because it's not, more than or less than, right? But a classic part whole, and even though I don't know one of the parts, that's a subtraction, right? Unknown add-in subtraction. So hopefully you'll see that Read, Draw, Write is a strategy that will grow with them throughout elementary school, even into middle school and high school. I use it quite a bit at the high school level. And so I just wanted to share the strategy with you, and the
If you want the printout to make an anchor chart out of, you're welcome to grab it off the website, pima.edu.com. All right. So let me know if you guys have any questions, and we will do a deep dive on tape diagrams coming up. So be sure to watch out for that email. Thank you.